suddenly just stopped talking to you, or they started acting weird around you, or that you've always like attracted the same kind of energy again and again and again, where you feel isolated or you feel like people just are mad at you and you don't know why. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 reasons why, as a person with a higher calling, people think that you're the problem. Feeling like you're on a spiritual path or have a higher calling, like that of a shamanic practitioner or a light worker or a spiritual healer, can be very exciting, especially since coming into that awareness usually happens after years of inner turmoil. Most of us, when we have that awakening, we've already spent most of our lives wondering why it is that we feel so different. And then this excitement can quickly disappear after the realization that we have tensions between family members and those we once called friends. And although many times this perceived negative energy can turn out to be just a misunderstanding, the truth is people are simply triggered by the new you. As disheartening as this may be, there are reasons for all of this tension. Hello, 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 and welcome back to my channel. If you are a returning subscriber, and if this is your first time joining me, then welcome. And I thank you for watching today's video. Today, we're going to dive into a specific topic that I feel like I hear a lot about. It's people come and tell me, and I've experienced myself, people come and tell me that they just don't understand why they're having so much turmoil between themselves and friends, people that used to be their friends, or family members that they used to feel close with, or the entire family just kind of feels like there's this like weird, awkward energy or tension around them, or they're getting blocked by people, ignored by people, shunned by people after it is that they step into their spiritual path and they recognize their awakening and their higher calling on this planet. And sometimes it even happens before they recognize what it is. They just know that they've always felt different and that they're experiencing these negative energies and these different of points of suffering and pain and isolation and ostracization from their communities at large. And so there is a reason for that. There's several reasons for that, and possibly maybe even more than the ones that I'm going to mention today. But today I'm going to get into 5 main reasons that I have put together that I feel are the reasons why people think that you might be the problem, why it is that it's just bothering them, you just being around, or you being on this path. So if you're interested in today's video, keep watching for that. Go ahead and click the like button, if you will. It's really, really helpful for me. It supports my growing channel and the other endeavors that I might be doing in my life to help out and give back to this world of what I call the gifted helpers. For those of you who don't know me, I am Maestra Wyzdom DVine. That is my healer's name. My shamanic name is Heals the Mother. And I create spaces, classes, videos, and content like what you're watching today in order to provide tools and answers and open pathways and resources for what I call the gifted helpers. And the gifted helpers are those with the healing helper heart, spiritual healers, curanderas, shamans, herbalists, highly sensitive individuals, empaths, intuitives, many of those things. I'm sure a lot of you are those things here on this channel as well. And I myself am a certified shamanic practitioner, healer, instructor. I'm a spiritual minister ordained, and as well as a mentor. And so you can reach me by following any of the information that I have down below. I have classes that you can join. I have products and services that you can book or purchase. So check those out as soon as you have a chance. So I wanted to also state that if you are watching this video and you do like the content, it would really help me out if you could, first of all, subscribe to the channel. And that way you'll have more content like this. You'll find out more of the information that I share with my community that has to do with these particular topics. And if you want to be notified the next time I have a video, we are in the middle of a series, what is shamanism right now? I'm taking a break from that series today to answer this question, and then you'll see I'll go back and forth between the series. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click the little ringy bell so that you'll be notified every time I put out a new video. Okay, so these are going to be the 5 reasons why someone with a calling, as that person, others think that you are the problem. If you feel like this has ever happened to you, let me know in the comments. Do you have like these things that you feel like someone suddenly just stopped talking to you, or they started acting weird around you, or that you've always like attracted the same kind of energy again and again and again, where you feel isolated, or you feel like people just are mad at you and you don't know why, or they hide from you when certain things are going in their life, they just kind of distance themselves from you, things like that. Let me know. If this is you, let me know in the comments. Be like, girl, yes, this is me 100%. Or let me know of a time when this has happened to you. I love to read the different stories. Okay, so we're going to get into the 5 reasons now. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, the first reason is the new you isn't who they are used to. They aren't used to this new you. Embracing a spiritual path often results in a transformation and a personal journey. For family and friends, this change can be disconcerting, and as you navigate from the shift from the familiar to the unknown, the new you may not align with the person they once knew, causing a sense of unease as they grapple with evolving identity, and it challenges their established perceptions. So first, the first one is they're just not used to you. They're just not used to you. If they knew you already, and then you start stepping into this path, you start blossoming, you start on the self-betterment road, and you have the spirit guides that you're talking to all the time now, or you're meditating now, or you're adopting new things. They're just not used to it. And people don't like change, unfortunately. Unfortunately, many people are just not that good with change. So being around the new you is forcing them to have to adapt and to change their perspective and their perceptions of you. And that just feels really uncomfortable to them. So they just rather not. They just rather not even try. They just rather not dive into it. It just seems like it's going to be too much work. I'm just going to go ahead and stay away. So that is reason number 1. All right. Now, reason number 2. Reason number 2, why, as someone with a calling, they think you're the problem. Reason number 2 is your work, efforts, and evolution make them uncomfortable. Dedication to spiritual work and personal growth can inadvertently evoke discomfort among loved ones. The visible commitment to change and healing may subtly imply that these processes are essential, a realization that some may not be ready to confront. The discomfort arises from the perception that your journey necessitates a parallel introspection on their part. All right, so this was a big fancy way of basically saying that if they see you growing, they feel a challenge inside of them that they're meant to grow too. If they see you expanding your mind and opening up to new ideas and new knowledge and wisdom that's out there in the world, they think they have to now open and stretch their minds and their beliefs too. If they see you eating healthier and you're on this path where you're doing different things for your betterment, for your health, your evolution, which is a good thing, right? They feel triggered that they're supposed to do the same thing. I don't know if any of you guys have been plant-based, and if you have for a while, and then you're, even when you're not trying to tell someone, because people always act like if you are, you're trying to brag or you're trying to put it in their face, and you're just not. You're at a function or you're at a meal with them, you join them for dinner, you check the menu before you got there, you knew what you were going to order, you get there and they order their meal, right? They order their hamburger, cheeseburger, and their fries and their milkshake, whatever it is that they're ordering, their fish and chips, whatever. And they're satisfied with their order. And then you put in your order, and then they just kind of sit back and be like, oh, what is this? Are you on a diet or something? Are you trying to lose weight? And you're like, no, I'm plant-based. I don't eat meat or dairy, but like not a big deal. You're trying to change the subject and move forward. And then all of a sudden they're like, they can't let it go, right? And thinking about it, they're looking around, they're like, I don't know. I couldn't do it. I couldn't live without cheese, or I couldn't do without my burger, or I have to have, I have to have, these things here, and I have to have some cheesecake, whatever it is, right? And you're like, okay, that's good for you. They automatically assume that because you're eating in front of them, that they now have to eat how you eat, and you're not even trying to indoctrinate them or anything. You're just trying to live your lifestyle. I don't know if any of you guys have ever experienced that. Let me know in the comments if you have. I've definitely experienced that. And so I noticed that just me having a change, having something I was doing differently, that I was doing for myself, for my own reasons, whether spiritually, whether mentally, whether for my body, whatever the reason was, ethically, it seemed like it would bother people, like they suddenly now have to do it. And I'm not asking you to, but they feel that way. So a lot of people get this feeling inside of them that just being around someone that's doing something different means that they now are going to have to do that thing as well. Okay, so number three reason why they think you're the problem is your heightened sensitivity and intuition make them feel vulnerable. Spiritual paths often lead to heightened sensitivity and intuition. While this can be empowering for the individual on the journey, it may make family and friends feel vulnerable and exposed. The sense that you can perceive aspects of their lives that they may not be ready to share can create discomfort, fostering a hesitancy to open up fully in your presence, or even be around you, right? Even be in your presence. So if you have that sixth sense, if you have that way of knowing, if you're like this very strong empath and you're just picking up different things about them, people like to call me the shadow shaman. Why? Because I just had this ability, I don't know, since I was a kid, to be able to see the story behind things, the shadows of like, why is that happening? What's going on with this person? Why are they acting the way they're acting? Oh, they're triggered by this thing that happened in the past. They're thinking that this is happening now. Or they're feeling hurt, but they don't know how to say that to you because they're not really good at communicating, because they don't think that you're gonna meet their hurt with some kind of loving compassion reaction. Since I was a kid, okay, I used to get in trouble over this. I would tell my mom, and my mom and my grandmother would be fighting, and I would go tell her, like, well, grandma just thinks this, and so she's not going to tell you that, but you think this, and you're not telling her that, and that's why you two aren't getting along. And my mom would be like, hush, child, stay out of grown folks' business. I don't know if that was you guys' house, but like, children were not supposed to be in grown folks' business. But I was always just trying to share what it was that I saw. So now this happens to me still, even in strangers and clients and students. And so I don't always say, because I was also taught as a child, I met with an intuitive psychic, you guys may know my story, that helped to heal me out of a wheelchair. I met 3 different women. One of them that I met, my mother had asked, can you tell that she also has some kind of gift or something? Because my mom had been dealing with, me seeing ghosts and premonitions and stuff for a while now. And the woman says, yes, I knew right away as soon as I met her. And my mom said, do you have any advice for her? And her advice, and she said it in front of me, my advice would be, you can't tell everybody everything you see. So that was really strong advice. Of course, not one that I listened to for a long time, until I got these reactions again and again and again, recognizing that people don't like it when you start telling them all of their laundry that you can sense in them. So even if you're not sharing, though, sometimes they can feel it. Even if you're not telling them, and you're still not letting them know that the stuff that's hiding behind everything. You're picking up on all the cues. If you're empathic or you're psychic, you can pick up on all kinds of body language, the different lines in their way that they're holding their face, the lines next to their mouth, the lines in their forehead, the shift in their eyes, the energy around them. You could just tell what's going on in their lives, and they feel really weird about that. They feel exposed and they feel vulnerable. So because they don't want to be read in that way, because most people are not living honestly, let's be honest about that, they're just going to avoid you. They're just going to avoid you altogether because they don't want you to look into them and peer into their soul and know all of the little dark secrets and things that they're not ready to talk about. So that is reason number 3. Okay, and reason number 4 is cognitive dissonance. It's very similar to something we've already talked about, but the adoption of spiritual beliefs may introduce cognitive dissonance within interpersonal relationships. Divergence in worldviews can cause discomfort as your evolving beliefs challenge the established perspectives of family members and friends. This disjunction in beliefs creates a cognitive conflict, contributing to the overall sense of unease. Okay, so the first one was they're not used to the new you. That's just you as a person. This one, this cognitive dissonance, is they're not used to the things you're talking about, the things you now believe in, the things that you're saying were working for you. If this person doesn't believe in the law of attraction and you've adopted really strongly a way of life where you're constantly using your power, your willpower, your creative sense to create your reality around you, and you're talking about the law of attraction now, this is going to create a cognitive dissonance in them, perhaps because they don't believe in it. They don't believe it works. But then they're looking at you, and your life is proof that this new habit that you've adopted, this new idea that you've opened your mind to, is actually working for you. And that could go for anything. I'm just using law of attraction as an example, but any new beliefs, if you used to be really, really in the church and you left the church and you feel great and your mental health is thriving and you're working it out. And even if you're falling here and there, you're not doing so great sometimes, but you figure it out now. You understand where it's coming from. You have a belief system that helps you to get out of it. You're like, oh, I'm just having another dark night of the soul. I've been through this before. It'll pass soon. I know exactly what to do. And I'm just going to meditate every day, and I'm just going to use specific crystals, or I'm going to talk to my spirit guides, whatever it is, and it's working for you. That's creating a cognitive dissonance in them. So cognitive dissonance is when there's a belief that already exists and you introduce another belief and they conflict. They're like clashing against each other. So when you do that, you introduce that to this person, for many people, again, because I said earlier, people do not like change. It brings a lot of unease. It brings a lot of unease in their body. They're uncomfortable now. They don't know what to do with what's happening in their brain. And I've had this happen to me several times where the person will start to come around even and begin to ask questions because they see things I'm posting about, I'm living in my life, I'm being an testimony for. And they start asking little questions here and there. Well, what about this? And well, what do you believe about that? Well, how come it's something that always bothered me. They always said this my whole life growing up, but what do you think about that? And I'm like, yeah, I know they told us these things and they're indoctrinating us and they're programming us. And they don't mean to. It's not that they're trying to do something bad. They think they're doing the right thing when they're programming people most of the time. We'll give most of the people the benefit of the doubt. We know that there are some exceptions in there, but I'll answer the question and say, no, you're right. That stuff was not true. We were fed lies. And at first it seems like, oh, maybe this person's going to wake up. Maybe they're going to start to come around to some of this information, come to the light. And then instead they'll just ghost me. Instead, they'll just completely disappear out of my life. And I'm like, oh, they weren't ready. They weren't ready. And that's okay. I have a belief in my spiritual path and in my relationship with the universe and the divine, that people are not going to come to any sort of realization this lifetime if they're not meant to. And if they're not meant to, that is their divine path. And I don't have to know the reason why. I just let them go with love and light and release them. If there's somebody in your life right now, guys, that you need to release, you can put that in the comments too. Just say, release them. I release them. Okay, so sometimes it's what we have to do. We just have to release people to their cognitive dissonance if it's too painful. Okay, so let me tell you this. One of the things I always tell people about shadow work, and when they don't, they don't understand why their family members won't do their shadow work, won't come to therapy with them, won't come to the realization of some of this stuff. I'm telling them the truth. Why won't they hear it? Think about this. When you're told things at the foundational level, right? Year 1 to like 7, 8, 9 years old, you're being told these things that are foundational for you. You're being told what your little tiny brain thinks is the law. They think that these things are how you survive. These are the mechanisms by which you're going to stay alive for the rest of your life. Okay. Now, and we learn as we get older, some of us that come to awakening and we start changing our paths and changing our ideas and rewiring some of those neural pathways using neuroplasticity in our brains. We know that those things were not lies. I mean, were not true, and they're not saving our lives. And in fact, they were causing us harm. And so we start to work on our defense mechanisms, our survival techniques, and start retraining our brain to not do this thing just because the inner child and the basic brain wants to do that. We're going to do this other thing instead. But for some people, when they hit that wall, when they realize you're telling them to do something that hits against a foundational belief, a foundational idea that once again, they were taught this is going to be how you survive. What you're basically asking them, in essence, is to stop surviving, is to cut off their air supply, plug your nose and your mouth and don't breathe anymore. You're basically telling them to do something that their brain, their subconscious thinks is going to unalive them. Does that make sense? So because this thing is the way that they lived and the way they survived for so long, to do the opposite and undo that creates an interaction in their body, in their brain, in their nerves, and their literal nervous system running up and down their body that makes them think they're in danger. And so a lot of people just choose not to. They'll back out of it and they won't look at it, and they won't be around the person that's making them look at it. They'll be too triggered and they'll just decide it's just not worth it. So we know how hard it's been for a lot of us. We go through our dark nights of the soul. We do our shadow work. We face those things, and they were hard. So we're not saying they're easy. We're not going to lie and sugarcoat and say, oh yeah, it's always been this easy road ever since I've adopted this new way of life and made a commitment to empowering myself with knowledge and with wisdom. We know that it's not an easy thing to do. So in that way, we can kind of understand at least a little bit enough to release them when they just can't. They're just not able to come around to that new idea. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Hopefully that tangent wasn't like too far gone for you guys. Let me know in the comments if I lost you. Okay. Now we are on to the fifth and final reason in this video why, as a person with a calling, a spiritual calling, a spiritual path, that the people around you and others may think that you are the problem. And that number 5 reason is jealousy due to unrecognized hardships. So jealousy. Observing your spiritual accomplishments without recognizing the accompanying hardships, which I was just talking about. We know how hard we had to drag ourselves through the mud to get to where we're getting to, may trigger jealousy among family members and friends. The failure to acknowledge the challenges you faced on your spiritual journey can create a perceived disparity. Jealousy arises when they see your achievements, but are not giving credit to or are unaware of the resilience and perseverance required to attain them, contributing to an uneasy dynamic. So they might just be sitting there saying, why you? I don't understand. Why is everything going so great for you? Why are you so chosen? Why are you so special? Why you? Why you? Why you? And we know that these gifts, we all know that these gifts are available to anyone. They are a part of your mind that is not being used in the majority of the people, majority of the population. And so some people are born with certain parts of those already activated, and then others can learn to activate these different intuitions and sensitivities and be able to see subtle energies and different read messages and things like that. They're all part of our brain. We all have this collective ability to tap into these things, as well as we
we all have the ability to make the laws of the universe work for us. So if you're using the law of attraction, if you're using the law of cause and effect, if you're benefiting from these laws of the universe, it's not because you're doing something that they can't do. So if somebody doesn't pay their light bill and their electricity is just off, is it your fault that your electricity is on because you paid that bill? Or if both of your electricity has always been on and you decide, hey, if I plug this light into the outlet, I now have a source of light in my house. That's basically the same as opening and illuminating your mind. And they could just be sitting in the dark, not realizing that the electricity is running through this house the entire time. And if anytime they wanted to, they could just flick on the light. So that's how people react towards you, is that you're doing something that is working the universe in your favor that they can't do. They're jealous because they don't know how it takes work, how it takes reprogramming and recoding your mind, how it takes having those shadow days where you can't even get out of bed sometimes, where it takes facing the real you, and realizing when in fact you actually are the problem, when in fact that your mind has been the problem, when in fact you're telling yourself a story or you're remaining in a state of victimization, and you have to feel those things and you pull yourself out of them. And they're not very easy. Like we said earlier, dark nights of the soul, these things are not easy things to do. So when someone is jealous of you, looking at you from the sidelines, most of the time it's because they're seeing the outcomes. They're seeing the end results. They're seeing the things that are blossoming and doing wonderfully for you, and not seeing the back end, or not giving credit to the back end of all of the life of turmoil that you had, and all of the work that you had to do once you started being aware of these things, and all of the ways that you keep on top of yourself, and all of the ways that your guides drive you crazy with mixed messages sometimes, and that you have nightmares, that you have to learn how to be lucid and face your fears. All of these different things, they're work. They don't just happen naturally, but you can program them to. And even that takes effort for you to program in the universe that you no longer want to experience adversities and you want to just have a life with no struggle. Even that, you created that, and they're not giving credit to that. So jealousy is our reason number 5. And I would like to give just a quick moment, a little bonus to the fact that, yes, we do have to check ourselves, because there can be a time, on the side note, when we actually are the problem. So we have to make sure we're constantly doing our self-development. Just because we have a gift, just because we feel like we have a calling, just because we feel like we really truly believe that in this divine purpose and this divine path we have, we still have to check our ego at the door. We still have to communicate when we know something is happening. We know the inside of it. We know that we have needs. We know that we have boundaries. We cannot expect for the other person to just read our minds. So we do have to communicate with them. Sometimes that means that we're the bigger person, which I know we hate that, because we're always the bigger person. But in some cases, if the interaction, the relationship, the person is important enough for you, you have to water that garden. You have to water that relationship garden. And sometimes watering it means being the bigger person, stepping outside of yourself and just saying, hey, I can tell something's going on with you. You've been avoiding me. What's up? Tell me what it is. Let me know if this is something we can work out. Let me know if this friendship is salvageable. Just being the person to take that first step. That can also be some work that it's on us to have to do. What is another thing that, in a way that we can be the problem? If we're not taking care of our needs, if we're just going, and we just have all this focus on our next project, on the next thing that we're creating, our next thing that we want to share, our next book that we're studying, our next class we're going to take, then we may be avoiding sleep, proper nutrition, our meditation time, our smudging and our salt baths, and that can make us cranky and snappy and not being at our best to be able to interact with others. So that's another way where we actually can be the problem. So there's going to be different ways. as I stated in the beginning, if it's a misunderstanding, if it's a perception that we are looking at it through our own triggers, through our own sensitivities, if we are speaking to the universe and creating more of it, if we keep saying things like, oh, people are always jealous of me, I can never have a sisterhood and good friends with females because they're always jealous with me. We have to stop saying that. You have, even if your granny, your auntie, your mama used to tell you when you come home and the girls are being mean to you, you were getting picked on and bullied, oh, don't worry about it, they're just jealous. And sometimes they are. The truth is, if we keep saying that, though, we know the law of attraction, the laws of the universe make it to where that's now going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we're just going to keep seeing more than that, more of that. So we want to make sure that we're not putting that in the universe also. So we have a responsibility to to create something new, to say a different thing, to say all my friendships are reciprocal, all of my friendships flourish, we have equal energy exchange, I give love and receive love, things like that. So where can we also be the problem is when we are not manifesting and speaking the right words in the universe to create a new thing for us. Staying in our old ways, going back to our old habits and staying in victimization and spiritual path, they don't go together. You'll be down here and your spirit path will be up here and you will not be meeting up with it alignment. We have to learn how to let go of that victimization, even on days when, even if we do have days where we're down and we don't feel well and we're just going to give into that feeling and we're going to sit with it, we're going to give it all the attention and love that it needs and deserves. By doing our shadow work or our inner child work, we're going to sit, we're going to cry, we're going to listen to the sad playlist, we're going to watch all the sad movies, we're going to just really go down in deep into that feeling. We know that we also have to come out of that. We know we cannot stay in the shadow. We have to also come back out to the light and remind ourselves that we have a choice. We're not victims, because now that we are aware, we know that we have a choice. So if these were helpful to you, once again, let me know, leave a comment, like this, share it with someone that you think it might be helpful for them to hear these reasons. You feel like you see them struggling and you've heard this before and you feel like this is exactly what they needed to hear to help them get back on the right track, to help them know that they're not alone, and to help them know that even though it is very dismaying and disappointing when you lose friendships and you lose family members, it's not completely your fault. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're doing all the right things. And it's just, as they say on the internet, it's just aggravating their demons, which I don't actually believe in demons, but you know what I mean? Their inner turmoil is being activated and triggered. And you can always go out in the world and find your own circles and your own friends and your own tribe. I've created a beautiful community online. I have great connections, and I get to interact with the people I choose to interact with now. So there's something else that you're empowered to do when the people that you want to interact with you in the way you'd like them to support your path and your journey won't. You can always go and look for those who will and who do. Okay, and so you can meet new people that are in my tribe, in my community at any point in time if you want to come to any of my events. If you want to know when I have events and I'm doing shamanic circles or any kind of share groups and meetups, go ahead and follow me on my social media. That is the best way, Instagram or Facebook, to keep on top of everything that I'm doing because I post there all of the time. Another thing that you can do is you can join my email list. If you do, you get this really cool gift from me, 25 manifestation tips for empaths and highly sensitives. So that is a PDF download that you'll get as a gift from me when you sign up. I'll put that link in the description below as well. You can also join classes with me. We're starting the next one really, really soon. So depending on when you are seeing this video, you might be missing the next level 1 beginners shamanic training certification. So that is going to be coming up here really soon, basically next week. But you have to start with your prerequisites anyways. And so your prerequisites are the Shamanic Path core classes. And there I take you through all of the different phases. You can watch my video that I made last week. I talk about those classes at the end of that, where we go through first working with spirit and energy. Then we go into walking and stepping into your spiritual path, kind of what we're talking about today. The third one is Intro to Shamanism. That's when we start to get further focused and more detailed into shamanism. And then the fourth one is Shamanic Journey Basics. If you want to learn to go into shamanic trance and learn how to take a shamanic journey, you would take those classes. But those first two are helping you set up energetic boundaries and doing your shadow work for these kinds of things that we're talking about today. Those are really, really important. So if you're interested in those are self-paced online classes. You can take them whatever you want to at your leisure. Those are on the Mystery School, the Wyzdom DVine Mystery School. I'll put that link below, and so check that out as well. And I think that is it for me today. Let me know what you thought of the video. Reach out to me if you would like to. That's it. Stay tuned for the next video. We'll be back to the shamanic series. What is shamanism? And in that video, we will be talking about what the role is of the shaman, or in our world, the shamanic practitioner. Thank you so much for joining me. Wyzdom out.